Is this the best show we've ever covered?
It quite possibly could be. This is the first one. And look, we talk about a lot of Bravo shows where we're excited to watch them every week. I'm excited to watch this live. I don't want spoilers on any social media. I get pumped while watching, especially this episode. This was one of the most riveting episodes, and we'll get into the discourse of people talking online because I feel differently. I don't know if you saw a lot of it, but I'm pumped. I had such a good time watching this episode.
I try to stay off socials with this one.
Smart.
I want to keep my head clear. So I think that I'm navigating better than everybody else. I'm sure I'm wrong.
Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows. Bros and shows. Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bros and Shows. I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Shooter Magooter. What's up, dude?
I'm waiting for you to eventually call me like Faithful Goots or something, but I don't think you're gonna do it. I think
Traitor Goots.
I actually really like that one.
I'm on
I actually
to ya.
really like that one. Yeah, look, I don't know if you guys know this, but we're talking about the Traitors today. And boy, oh boy, it's been a long week for us. There are a lot of shows to cover. This one is just going to be pure fun from start to finish, I think, with us.
Yeah, I don't mind doing we don't mind doing any of them. This week has been nuts. I realized why though, because I was trying to put it together. I'm like, fuck, we've had did 2 Monday, 2 Tuesday, 1 Wednesday, 2 Thursday, 1 today. So it's 8. We've done 8. I realized it's the Traitors. The 3 drop of the Traitors is what smoked us because they dropped 3 at once. We wanted to get it out quickly.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. See, now I was looking forward thinking, oh fuck, are we gonna have to do this every week for the next 3 weeks until I guess Salt Lake is done?
That's what Deb said. She's like, man, this is gonna be a tough run. I was like, yeah, dude, this is a lot. It's a lot of content. And I was like, trying to figure out how to map out the schedule to make it a little lighter or easier.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. We had
I just went through it in my head. I went through it in my head for next week. I'm like, oh yeah, probably 2 Monday, 1. Okay, that's actually not bad at all. I don't know what we're complaining about.
Back to normal. It was simply the triple drop from Traitors is what threw a wrench into everything. But again, when I guess if you want to call it vent about this, don't get it twisted. We are fully grateful for what we do and having the opportunity to do this. We love talking about these shows. It was just it was a lot. It was a lot of content, and we wanted to make sure we got it all out there for our sweet baby birds, so you guys have plenty to listen to. Yeah, our faithfuls, because we're the Traitors.
Are we the Traitors? Yeah, we're the Traitors
in this scenario. I guess so. Or no, I'd like to think we're more of like Alan Cummings.
Both of us?
That's what I would like to think. Yeah, we're the Cummings. You and I.
Careful.
Don't disparage his name, you fucking traitor. It's getting better.
It is getting
better. Maybe
I
should do Sean Connery the whole time.
No, you've been watching a lot more. I guess you're switching over to Instagram Reels. You're watching a lot of How to Speak Scottish.
No, it's just the one that hasn't popped up since. I would love if my algorithm just turns into it's like music, food, and if it turns into how to do languages, I think I got the nail on the head there. But we can't waste any more time. It was a longer episode this week as well. So let's jump right into Traitors episode number 4. And at the end of last week, we saw the Traitors going into the bookcase, do a little secret talking to get their shortlist together. Obviously, I assumed that some people would figure out. I didn't realize that a lot of people didn't know that was a room. They just thought it was a bookcase.
I think a lot of people had no idea it was a room. But when we see a little bit later, when Dylan's like, what the hell is this? Oh, it's open. And he walks in. He said something is different. Something has changed. And that made me think that maybe they knew that room existed and he was trying to compare it to what it looked like before. But I was really confused by that. I was of the thinking that nobody knew that this room existed.
A lot of people didn't because DQ Bob, when they get to I forget where, when he's talking about the room. I was at breakfast.
Yeah.
He's like, well, we heard there was a room, so we all wanted to go see it, which threw people off the scent. So some people knew about it. Other people didn't. And Gabby, whilst walking by, saw the door open. The bookcase moved and opened, and she just heard Danielle's voice.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, well, that's very damning. I didn't think enough emphasis was placed on that. I didn't think enough people talked about that.
I think Gabby is playing a really good game. She had the wherewithal. to jump out of the way. She's like, I'm not going to get caught here by myself
fuck
because if
that.
they are traitors, they're going to go after me. They're going to be like, oh, she knows what we were doing. Let's get her out tonight before she can talk to anybody. So also, but like, this is the thing. This game has so many goddamn nuances that it's like, okay, if they did see her, they can't kill her on the spot. She can go run and tell her friends. And then if her friends know what's going on and they say, oh, she heard Danielle's voice, she saw Danielle, Danielle saw her, and then she gets murdered that night, it's like, yeah, I think it's Danielle. So it is really weird. You don't want to put yourself out like that in either sense. It's just crazy. It's a mind fuck, the whole thing.
The whole thing is, and it like gets me jumping back and forth. Like, how would I play that? How would I play that? I will say, I think Gabby's playing a smart game.
I think she is too, yeah.
Because she is smart. Like, she's intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she's letting people assume otherwise because she's just kind of playing aloof sometimes. She's not getting fully involved. You know, she's grouping up with the Bambis.
She's in the Bambis, yeah.
I think people underestimate the Bambis. I think they know that. Like, the Bambis, I believe, is one of the tougher groups in this show. And I think they're underestimated. I think people don't know that. And I think that they know they're underestimated, which makes them even more dangerous because they're almost an afterthought. I think they can make some big moves. And I think we might see that from them. That's
they're just kind of looked at as like collateral damage, essentially, where it's like, yeah, we can maybe take one of them out and it'll just throw everybody off the scent because it's a random person.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, if your group is thought of as random people, then you're pretty safe, honestly.
I think so. I think that they're doing a good job. But as you said, they went in the room. I thought Dylan, like when he was at the shelf, I'm like, Jesus, you're literally pointing at it. You just don't know. Like, if you open that little
great camera work.
It was phenomenal camera work. And I think there was stationary cameras, so it's even more impressive. So yeah, I was concerned he was going to find the little box, but he doesn't. And he says, God, we're too late. I'm like, no, you're not. It's right there. Just reach out, open it. Because I would love to know what that would do. Now, one big omission from last week. Okay. Again, everybody, this is our first run through of this show. I don't know how many people reached out and goes, traitors can't tell people they're traitors. That's against the whole game. I didn't know that. That's why I posited that and said, are you allowed to do that? I know now you are not. That is not allowed.
It's not that you're not allowed. I think that
no, obviously you're firmly not allowed.
Really?
It's like part of the show. Yeah. I think I promise
because in this next scene, when we have the three of them, Jeremy yells out, I'll work with you if you save me. And I'm like, well, that kind of goes in line with what we were saying last week. So
we are. Yes.
Why are you so quick to say that we're wrong? You can't do that. We're supposed to be right.
It's part of the show. You are not, once you take an oath as a traitor, I guess. And it's
it's like all the people pointing out because we got so pissed off about the doors last week. They're like, they told them. It's like, well, I didn't see them tell them. So it's stupid.
And also, like, yeah, a part of us was like, they probably weren't allowed to do something, but
still going to make a big deal about it.
Yeah, because it was funny. It's funny to us. But anyway, like you said, we get the three people in the coffin, the shortlist reveal, Jeremy, Nikki, Ciara. We also get announced, Alan goes through the whole process. Like, they had to do this in front of everybody. So now everyone's looking around like, who was sketchy? Who didn't we see? All that stuff. It creates more turmoil for everybody. But Jeremy, Nikki, Ciara, everybody get in the box. And we get one more confessional from Jeremy trying to point the finger at Danielle. And he's like, I know it's her. That's why I'm in this box right now. And everyone gets to say their final words. I don't think there's a correct way to do this because if you take the Ciara approach, I'm not a fucking traitor and I'm going to hunt you the fuck down, whatever she said. Okay. Nikki goes in and she says, I'm a faithful. I'm a faithful. I'm a faithful. Don't kill me. Everybody knows I'm a faithful. And then Jeremy goes with, if you let me out of here, I will help you, traitors. So you get three different approaches. And, you know, that's what the funniest part that comes in later when Derek's trying to do the detective thing. He's like, well, that's just the move. It's like, well, there's an argument to be made for each person why it's sketchy they said it and why it was a good move that they said it.
Yeah, no, I would fully agree with that. And then touching on Derek too, your police skills are way off, buddy. If you're just going to start pointing to somebody because they were using profanity and you were pointing at a faithful the entire time.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that good of a cop, Derek. I feel bad for the people that you pointed.
I also think like that's going to come back to bite him because he's a detective. He makes it known he's a detective. And that was his whole game plan, was to be like, it's got to be Ciara because of this.
Well, they still don't know, obviously, but like if and when Ciara gets voted off and they find out that she was a faithful, it'll be chaos.
It's going to come down on him a little bit more, I think. Yeah, but we get to bedtime and the traitors arrive and DQ Bob thinks that they have everybody fooled. We got everybody. They're running around in circles with their heads cut off. They have no idea what's going on. And they're trying to figure out the right move. Who are we going to kill in these 3 boxes to point fingers elsewhere? And there's a lot of ways you could go with this, right? Before we move on to the next scene, who are you killing out of these 3? If you're Traitor Goots, who are you killing?
I think that Jeremy is the smart move. I think you have to get rid of the good game players. I mean, we saw it in Jeremy's confessional when he's talking about he knows it's Danielle. So if he lives, he's going after Danielle.
Yeah.
That's what happened last week too. You got Tony out of the game, who everybody was afraid of. If you know he's a faithful, it doesn't matter if you're trying to, like, there's certain people you try to throw off the scent. It's like, yeah, you might want to just randomly kill Ciara, you might want to randomly kill Nikki just to throw people off the scent. Be like, well, that was bizarre and random. Why would they get rid of that person? And then it just makes everybody think a lot deeper. It doesn't have to be that deep. Get rid of the people that you're afraid of that think the way that this game is supposed to be played, which would be a Tony, a Jeremy, a Boston Rob, as we say, things like that. That's what you want to go after. You want to get them out because you're going to leave these people stranded who haven't played a game like this before. Leave somebody like Tom Sandoval out there who thinks that everybody's a traitor except for the actual traitors.
Leave Tom and Robin because they are pointing fingers everywhere. Like in the morning after, Robin's like, it's Nikki and Jeremy. They're the traitors. I know they're the traitors, guys. And Gabby and Dolo, Chriselle and Robin are all sitting there talking. And that's when Gabby reveals the whole bookcase thing with Danielle. And Robin's like, no, definitely not her. It's definitely not her. And then points the finger at Gabby saying that she's overreacting. I'm like,
yeah,
you're off on all of, like, you're pointing.
Luckily, nobody is listening to Robin though. So
that's not, but I think that
I guess the Wells situation, maybe, but DQ Bob started that. So it's like, I
understand that, but I think that when you have somebody, no matter who it is, that confidently proclaiming all the time, you can say what you want about Robin. I don't think she's great at this game, but as I said last week, she has conviction.
She's trying.
She always has conviction, and I think that will push people in different directions. For the faithful overall, that's bad. Yeah, that's bad when you have a vocal person that is pointing you in 18 different directions and doesn't know who is who. But everyone's trying to figure everything out. Meanwhile, Carolyn goes to a confessional. She's still not being heard. And I think that's a big misstep. Although I do agree with the choice they made, I think that she's a better player than they're giving her credit for. And I think what happened is Danielle has taken hold of everything, at least up until this point.
Yeah, Danielle is steamrolling. Rob is still figuring it out, and it's kind of funny too because, like, maybe we don't know how long this has been. Is this like this is a day by day activity?
So this is day
like
4.
Yeah, so Rob, Wes, and Derek are still trying to get their feet wet. Even Rob, as a trader, is still trying to figure things out. He's trying to figure out exactly what the gameplay is and what he wants to do. So he's letting the people who have been there since day one figure it out.
He's also scoping out the traders. He's trying to figure them out.
He wants to take over. He wants to take over. He wants everybody to play by his rules. And right now it's not working that way, but he's not really being vocal about it. Carolyn is very vocal in her confessionals, but not in the traders meetings. She's not talking. She's not voicing what she wants to do. She's just kind of backing down.
She gets knocked down every time.
Maybe
every time she has spoken up, they're like, nah, whatever. It's DQ Bob and Danielle take over the conversation. Boston Rob is tactically quiet.
Yeah.
And then Carolyn in the first 2 episodes did speak up, and then they just disregard her. So I think at this point she's like lowest in the pecking order just because of how it was set up, because you have 2 strong personalities in Danielle and DQ Bob.
But it also isolates Carolyn too, because she said this, and I do think it was a little much when she's like, Survivor people are a family, and she starts crying. It's like, all right, come on, it's just a game, relax. But
it's also the psychology of these shows.
I suppose, yeah. But I think what she's really thinking is this kind of isolates her. As we saw in the beginning, everybody from each other's shows, you guys all know each other. You guys are all talking. Maybe you can get to a point where you can team up. So now it kind of isolates Carolyn. Like, the traders have to think not only as traders, like, yes, we have our own team, but as we see later, you can potentially fall victim to that. But you still need your own team when you get back to the faithfuls, when you're portraying yourself as a faithful and getting rid of somebody like Jeremy who trusts Carolyn at this point. That's going to take away from her. So I think that's also what she's thinking of, where they're like, no collateral damage. It doesn't matter. It's like, well, you got rid of another Survivor person. I've got no more Survivor people here except for Rob, who I don't trust because it's Boston Rob. So I'm sitting here on an island by myself. Not a Survivor joke. Well, it is a Survivor joke. Actually, I meant that.
Yeah, good pun.
Thanks.
But they ask, all right, who went in the bookcase? And this was Gabby's move to be like, if Danielle doesn't speak up, she's definitely a traitor.
Yeah.
Danielle figures that out quickly, and she's like, well, I was in there with Dylan. And then DQ Bob goes to Danielle's defense, says, well, that's when I heard that there was a room. We all heard there was a room, so we wanted to go check it out. And then Gabby goes to confession, goes, damn, immediately debunked. I'm like, no, it's not. You watched
No.
that thing open. That's
The
different.
only
Like,
people that spoke were traitors. I mean, Dylan said, yes, I was in there, but I think we just missed it. We had just missed whatever happened in there. Danielle and DQ Bob were like, oh, yeah, we were in there. It's like, no one else said that.
No, not one other person. And I was like, that doesn't debunk it. If anything, hone in on these two because they're the only ones talking. Once again, these two have been talking more than anybody the entire time. So let's focus in on that part. But you see the underestimating of a Gabby with Danielle saying it's going to be a girl next door and like says because she's cute, she's not a tough opponent. It's like, well, that's a stupid oversight. And I think that's what's perfect with the Bambi group. People are going to overlook them and they shouldn't because that group is intelligent. They're going to take somebody out when they least expect it. And I think that because they're just flying under the radar, that's going to be, if Nikki can make it through the next couple of rounds, I think they have a good shot. If she gets whacked, I think it's going to cause chaos amongst that group. But we get to the traitors and their vote. They're all standing around the coffin trying to figure out who to vote for. Danielle brings up Jeremy because he has been walking around telling people it's Danielle. And that was one of his, probably his biggest.
That's his pitfall. Yeah.
Was he was too vocal about. He told too many people about Danielle, and Danielle has too many allies as of right now. So he kind of shot himself in the foot. And once again, you get Carolyn eye rolling. And I agree with Jeremy. This was the right decision. I think you and I have a similar game plan. I'm getting rid of anybody I think is a strategist. Anybody that plays these games for a living, get the fuck out of here. I'm taking out the strongest. Even if they're not the strongest, just on paper. Let's go with resume. All right. You've done the type of show like this. Smell you later. I'm going to keep people that don't have this background on the show as long as I can. That seems like the best move for me. But once everyone finds out that Jeremy's dead, now they're trying to do some detective work. Okay. So when you're in the coffins, Nikki, like what happened? She's like, well, there's at least 2, but possibly 3. I'm like, well, we're off there. And one of them was light-footed. I was like, okay, that's a good one. So, there's at least one woman. It's not all dudes. Okay, so we've limited that a little bit, but it's definitely not Bob. It's like, was that Danielle that said that?
No, it wasn't. My book. It wasn't Danielle that said that. But like the thinking is that it's not Bob because, and I realize this because every time that somebody knocks really hard on the door in the morning after, they're always like, "Oh, there's Bob."
It's that's right.
He's so loud,
right?
Yeah. So I think that was the thinking. But it's like, okay, well, that's just one of them. Doesn't mean it's not Bob. Just means that the one that went down there and put the nail in isn't Bob.
Had lighter feet. Yeah. So unfortunately, they all fall for pretty much the most basic trick they're trying to do. They're going to assume that one of these coffins, at least one of them, is a traitor. So now
which is what they wanted to do until Boston Rob said, no, that doesn't make any sense. Let's not do that.
Right. I know. And that would, we both agreed with that. That would have been a dumb, there's no reason to put yourselves in harm's way yet when you have this many contestants. You don't have to throw people off the scent. So they were smart to leave everybody out, and it does get people pointing at each other. Now all the faithfuls are feuding, and for whatever reason, they're locked in on Ciara, and I guess it's because of what she said to try to protect herself. But I thought that was good. I thought that was more like, I'm gonna fucking get you guys. You better kill me, because if you don't, I'm coming for you.
I think it's based off of pretty much what Danielle said, where it's like, it could be somebody that you're not suspecting. It could be a girl next door. And then when she said that at the coffin and started screaming, saying, fuck you, I'm going to hunt you down. They're like, all right, that's a little bit of an overreaction. Maybe we look at her. It's like, I would have that in the back of my mind, but maybe not immediately try to vote her out. Like, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
I would be watching her. I would be watching Nikki. The reasons for Nikki potentially being a traitor were like some of the dumbest things I've ever heard from Wes. He's like, well, she has a performance background and she makes a living being extra, and she's not being extra right now. She is a WWE wrestler. Of course, when she's in the ring, it is played up. There's no way you can sustain that. In real life.
This is just really her real personality. Yeah.
This is who she is. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, was he's like, she's not being performative now. It's like, because when she's doing her job,
I think they just like
performance.
And I was so disappointed in Wes too, because Wes is usually so good at these games. And by the end of the episode, he is really good. But right now, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, maybe it's just that they have to do something. Now, obviously, with the roundtable coming up and you're thinking about the mission and getting a shield and stuff, so that kind of protects you for certain things. But you have to think something. And I guess they're now like, especially the new guys, they're thinking they have to actually voice their opinion. All right, you know
Yeah.
what? It's time that I stop sitting back and I start doing stuff. So maybe that's what it was. And look, I mean, if you're wrong, you're wrong. There's still so many people left that it's like, all right, we lose another faithful. It's going to be frustrating, but at least we're dwindling the numbers and we're getting closer. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think another part of it is if you look at the people that you could say have a background in this or are playing the game fairly well up until this point,
Yeah.
one thing they all share is conviction. Like when they get locked in on something, like I'm going to see this to the end, right or wrong, because they're not looking. If you look in too many directions, you're going to get lost. So if you hone in, I've noticed that. So each person that like seems to know what they're doing a little bit, when they get locked in on someone, they go for that. They're trusting their gut. And I guess especially with this many people, maybe that's like the right way to do it. I don't know. We'll find out. But Tom says to the group, I'd like to say something. Dramatic pause. Dramatic pause. Dramatic pause, to the point that people are asking if he needs a glass of water. And he says, I think Ciara got recruited. Everybody. Robin buys it immediately, of course. Rob and Tom are a formidable duo. These two, they are just going to throw everybody off of everybody else's scent. But that's when you get the conversation with Wes, Danielle, and Ivor and about Nikki. Of course, Ivor agrees because he gets to vote for a woman again, and that gets him all jacked up to get all the ladies out of the house. But my favorite duo that has arisen from this cast is Dolores and Dylan.
Oh,
I love these two together. And they're sitting there talking, and Dylan brings up, he's had this theory for a while, and he's done a good job because he raised concerns, then he faded back to the point that DQ Bob wasn't
faded
really
back for what, 12 hours?
Doesn't matter because they woke up.
Just so
and
funny.
like, yeah, but day to day, it's important. And the next day, after he had questioned DQ Bob a little bit, the following day, Bob doesn't really push him at all. He doesn't press him. He kind of leaves him alone. I'm like, all right, he skated by that one. But now he's trying to rally troops very quietly. He does it with Dolores. Dolores agrees that Bob looks suspicious. He's an amazing actor. He knows how to put on a performance.
Dolores is getting her feet under her, by the way. I knew
she would.
I got so excited when I saw the two of them at the bar. And then I realized again, with the timing of this whole thing, the last time we talked to Dylan about Bob, he was saying he's going to take a full step back. He's got to reevaluate, maybe start talking to other people, but he's going to watch Bob because he's still convinced. Within less than 24 hours, he's like, by the way, Dolores, still on Bob. I trust you now. It's like, hey, he's very trusting. That's fair. I like it because I know that Dolores is a faithful. So I like the two of them together. And I also just like seeing that there's a housewife still in the mix that's just kind of floating by. She's on no one's radar at all. She's not getting any weird looks. She's just doing something, just paying attention. And now she's got a team going. And I love it.
Yeah, I do too. But we get to the mission and we're carrying Easter Island statues up a hill. Everybody has a head with their name on it, but there's only 10 bodies. So to get a shield for elimination, you need to have your head on top of one of these statues. Now, there's a few people that are under the impression that there should be some strategy. Some people need shields. Fuck everybody. Fuck all of you. I'm grabbing my head and I'm running to the top of the hill and I'm putting it down and waiting for a body. I'm protecting myself. I don't care about anybody else.
Here's the problem too. They need fucking prize money. They have squandered so many opportunities for prize money. They left, what was it, 40,000 in the first mission.
Yeah,
they didn't get through the maze in the second episode.
20,000. They left 20,000.
20,000 there. So like they need to get prize money. The only prize money they've gotten so far is from the Viking ship. So they need to be able to press through and get as much as they can. So that's part of it. Yes, I agree with you. Put your head up there, put it next to a base, and then you have a really good chance, even if you're helping somebody out, you still have a really good chance of getting your head on that statue just because it might come down to the point where we've got 9 up there, we've got the 10th body, and there's only 1 head left. So you might just luck into it. But there's enough time here where you can still do that. My thinking on this was run up, put your head up there, grab somebody else's head. Who cares? Be nice. Grab one of the girls' heads who's struggling, or, we saw Bob H struggling too. Like, be nice to those people. Anybody who looks like they're struggling, go help them because it's going to go a long way. And if you're not prioritizing your own head, you're going to get a couple of weird looks where it's like, oh, he doesn't care if he gets a shield. He might be a traitor. But most of the time, I feel like a nicety would go a little further where it's like, thank you so much. You're all,
That's
I
Derek's
got you.
approach. That's Derek's approach. He takes the approach of I'm going to help everybody else out.
No,
Tom, but that's the least surprising thing ever. And someone says like, he's so selfish. It's like, yeah, he is. He's the most selfish.
Well, he is, but he also isn't, because at the beginning of that mission, I'm like, just fucking grab something and run up there. Why are
Somebody
you
do
guys
something.
sitting there talking?
Hey, we need to strategize. I'm like, fuck
Well,
that.
it's because he doesn't give a shit, and that's something that'll go against him too. It's like, just leave it. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Everybody grabs something, and we'll run up there, get as much shit up there as possible, and then we'll figure out the heads at the end of it. Or, as we see, you're just gonna start putting heads on bodies. Who cares?
Yeah,
We need the money
then-
anyway.
Exactly. But watching Bob Harper struggle up the hill, I don't think you understand how much of a big
Yeah, it was
loser
tough.
I was.
Yeah.
He was like, I just always have, and then it's us getting older as well, and like seeing people that you like idolize when you're like, I thought Bob was like he says, invincible, and he had a heart attack 7 years ago, 20% chance of surviving it. He did survive it, but watching him get humbled by this hill and watching his reaction to it was so emotional for me too, because I'm watching, I'm like, oh, Bob, you're still strong, dude. You still got it. It's just, he's like, it's just adjusting to like the new normal and humbling. And I'm like, fuck, man, that was really sad. Like really sad, because I was a huge fan of his for a very long time. But here's who's safe: DQ Bob, Rob, Tom, Bob H, Dylan, Dolo, Chriselle, Danielle, Brittany. Did I get everybody? I think I missed one, but
I think that's good.
did I get them all? Yeah. So
Ivor,
that's
maybe.
Oh,
Did Ivor get his on there?
I don't
I
even
think
know
he
if
got
he
his
got
on
one.
there.
Did he
I
get
think
one?
he got his on there too.
That's
Yeah.
10 if that's correct. So those are who's protected. Obviously, the big standouts here are Ciara, who
Right.
should have, by the way. I don't know why she wasn't gunning to get her head up that hill as fast as humanly possible. Like, she
Well, that's
knows
because
there's a target.
DQ Bob ran past her and goes, "Who cares? Everybody already thinks you're a traitor. It doesn't matter."
Yeah, and she
And
goes,
she was like, "What the fuck? People think I'm a
Everyone thinks that?"
traitor?"
He's like, yes,
And then-
bitch.
Yeah, but then at the very end of it, when they're deliberating for the last head, Ciara's, she tries a little bit. I'll give it to her, but she doesn't try that hard. Tries to get her head up there. And as Rob walks by, he goes, "Nobody thinks you're a traitor. Who cares?" And it's like, well, wait a minute. Bob just told me that everybody thinks I'm a traitor. Now Rob's saying nobody thinks you're a traitor. People do think you're a traitor, Ciara. Unfortunately,
Everyone thinks you're a traitor.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks
and
it's you or
need to
Nikki.
be safe. Yeah. And here's the other thing that would go a long way. If you're Nikki or Ciara, neither of them were safe. If you're Nikki or Ciara, you should be gunning for that. You should be trying really hard and yelling, "Can I please get my head up there? I need to be safe for tonight because everybody thinks I'm a traitor." That's very faithful activity. That's very faithful behavior. So that's what I was thinking. But
but that's the great part about this show is there are reasons to support a certain way of thinking, and there's reasons that certain way of thinking is wrong. There's so many different ways to play this game that something, I could be sure about something like, oh, this is what I would do, and then somebody does that and they get scrutinized.
They
I'm
get
like, oh
whacked,
shit, yeah. So it's really interesting. But DQ Bob, as they're all standing there, I don't think that he was trying to point a finger at Boston Rob. I think he was just trying to point fingers around and just create more confusion. But that doesn't really matter what your intention was, because it's Boston Rob. This guy is legendary, and he's also a cutthroat.
And nobody said anything about the new guys. Like, yeah, people
No.
are suspect, but there's so much going on right now. And you're now, you're 0 for 2 at the round table. You got Wells and you got Tony out. Neither were actual traitors. And obviously you lost a lot of other people. So like, you're losing people every night. They're thinking about everybody in the house. They're not really keying in on the new guys thinking, oh, it could be one of them. Nobody's really brought that up. So the fact that Bob brought this up out of nowhere seemingly was terrible. It was dumb.
Similar to like putting a traitor in the coffin. I thought it was the same level of
same
like,
thing.
Oof, too soon. It's too soon. You should have saved it, because all you did was put a target on your back up against arguably the most experienced player
And
here.
he didn't realize that at all. He thought it was
No.
good gameplay. He thought it was throwing people off the trail. It was going to just create chaos, and everybody was going to vote for different people. And then nobody was actually going to get a traitor at the end of the day. And he was so comfortable too. It was fucking funny. He's going back. He's like, I'm going to sleep great tonight. I've got a shield. Nobody thinks I'm a traitor. I love this. But Rob's fucking pissed.
Rob's
He's like,
livid.
you kidding me? He's like, you
going
kidding me? He
back.
just put a target on all of our backs. Wes and Derek are like, oh, fuck, he did, didn't he? Yeah, okay. We got to get this guy out. I don't want to, I'm not dealing with this.
He says, we might have to do something tonight. Got to take out the head of the dragon, Bob the Drage Queen. And I was like, oh, fuck. You done pissed off Boston Rob.
I got
That's
so
not good for
excited
you.
by this, too.
So they're on the ride back, and Boston Rob visibly upset. And he keeps up bringing up DQ Bob, brings him up to Derek, and he says, we got to blindside this dude tonight. But I'm not going to make it a public battle. He's going to go around and put things in people's ears. Now, when he said that, I'm thinking he's going to tiptoe around like a mouse and be like, "Psst, psst." Not really. He starts to do that, and then people start coming into the room while he's saying it, and it turns into him telling pretty much everybody that we're going after DQ
He was
Bob.
going room to room.
I know, but not before him and Dylan have the conversation where
Yep.
he's like, we're going to do this. And this is important because, as we know, Dylan has been a little timid to speak up because he's afraid to get a target on his back. So now what Rob is doing, and I think he knows it, and that becomes more apparent at the end, is gaining Dylan's trust.
Yes.
Because he's like, I got you, dude. I know you can't do this. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to get everybody on your team. You get my back. I got your back. And he's like, oh, thank God, B-Rob. Thank God for you.
Yeah, because you can't sit at that round table the day before and not think that Dylan walked out of there even more suspicious than he was before. Because he was sitting there like, come on, is nobody going to vote for him? Are you fucking kidding me? Fine. I'm going to take a step back. He's like, not really taking a step back. He's already talking to Dolo. So Boston Rob made the right move, go right to Dylan. This is what I'm talking about, where it's just pure cinema. This is starting to turn into such an incredible show, just a great showing. As soon as Boston Rob gets out of the car, I'm like, go to Dylan. Please go to Dylan. Go talk to him right now because he's suspicious and you'll be able to get at least 2 more people on your side. What I was curious about was, is he even going to tell Danielle and Carolyn, or is he just going to blindside the Traitors and make them get into like some sort of weird situation?
You have to tell at least one of them.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he's going to tell both of them. Obviously, he's not going to tell Bob, but Jesus, banana. But yeah, you have to get some support from at least one traitor. So he goes around, he goes to Ivor, or Dylan goes to Ivor, and Ivor goes, what about Nikki? Come on, we got to stick to this lady thing. We got to keep getting the ladies off of this show. And then Wes tells Ciara to go for Nikki. B-Rob goes to Chriselle to tell her about DQ Bob, which Dev thought was a misstep because
I think so too.
oh, she's going to run and tell Gabby and the Bambies about this. That's going to look bad. And I think that she would also go and tell Danielle because Gabby doesn't think Danielle's a traitor.
Right.
So now
I also thought they were going to go right to DQ Bob because Bob, for whatever reason, didn't hear it. And that I think is the most amazing and remarkable thing when we hear people talking. And yeah, I know Bob, like the way that he's been playing the game, if you're looking at him as a faithful, he's been boisterous. He's been loud. He's been trying to like run all the missions, make sure everybody's in line. He's been showing whatever his emotion is, giving his opinion whenever he wants. But he doesn't really have a team. And it's kind of weird when you think about it this way. If you're looking at it from like 5,000 feet in the air, you're looking down at Bob and you're like, well, you don't have a crew. Everybody likes you. Everybody really enjoys you, but you don't have a team of your own. All of these other cliques are kind of forming. And yeah, the new guys are kind of floating around, but there are cliques forming and Bob's not in any of them except for the Traitors. So that's why I was still surprised that nobody ran and told him, a Chriselle or a Gabby or whoever found out about it. No one went and ran and told him because he would have had a panic attack and he would have went right after Rob or probably Dylan if they didn't say who it was. But Rob was doing all the dirty work himself. Yeah.
I was curious though, if Danielle had caught wind before B-Rob had told her about it.
Yeah.
Would she have gone to Carolyn and been like, hey, we got to get Boston Rob the fuck up out of here? That's what I thought might have happened. And I would have loved to. I know we're going to have traitor feuds now, which I love. I'm glad we're getting into it. I do think that they shot themselves in the foot. I think DQ Bob took a misstep, didn't think about it, tried to, like we talked about that already. I think we got the Traitors out too soon for the Traitors team.
Right.
But individually as Traitors, the ones that remain, it's going to play really well for them because we get to the round table. And right before that, the Traitors all convene and B-Rob's like, we got to take out DQ Bob. And Danielle's like, yeah, totally. Not tonight, though. And he's like, oh, no, tonight. Definitely tonight. She's like, no, we're not doing that tonight because she still thinks that she's in charge of everything. So she's like, well, that's not the plan. We had this whole plan that we have to do Nikki because it points everybody at Ciara. Then they're going to vote Ciara off tomorrow. That's our plan. We're sticking to our plan. She's like, you know what? You're right. High five. See ya. Caroline, come here. We're voting for DQ Bob. Caroline's like, wait, what? Like, what do you, this poor woman.
She's like, it's too soon.
Let her get involved. Yeah. And you know what? You could argue that it is too soon because I think as well, if you let it run, there's other ways to go about it. But you went up against Boston Rob, and I don't think that he likes being tested. I don't think he likes having a target on. Nobody does, but I think he takes it personally.
Him especially. Yeah.
And he's like, fuck this. I'm getting you out of here. You want to go up against me, dude? Already? No. Get the fuck out of here. So we get to the round table, and they had to show poor DQ Bob walking like, I'm not concerned at all. I'm not worried even in the slightest because I got my shield. Nobody suspects me. Everybody loves me because I'm such a lovable person. So yeah, I'm gonna stroll through this. I'm not even gonna talk. And it goes south really quickly. Wes leads off with this whole spiel about Nikki because of the coffins. it seems so obvious that
Yeah.
I was unimpressed. I'm unimpressed with Wes thus far.
Yeah.
I know at the end he cleans it up a little bit,
Hmm.
but he's got such a reputation. Like, even I know who Wes is. I've never watched his show, but I know who
Yeah.
he is. I was
Yeah.
expecting better because he goes in the
And
spiel.
he did say, like, if I get a shield, I'm gonna go 110% because I'm
Yeah.
gonna stick my neck out and I know I'll be safe because nobody's suspecting that I'm a traitor. I was surprised though, because when they're walking away from the Easter Island mission, if you want to call it that,
Mhm.
when Bob called everybody out and Rob goes to the new guys and says he just put a target on our backs, you would think maybe Wes would think twice about this. Like, maybe I don't stick my neck out if people are starting to already suspect that the new guys have it, then going after. But then
Ooh,
again,
that could fuck him up though, because he does make the statement at the end. Who would know that somebody was 100% a traitor? A
right.
traitor. And he's going to go back and think about, okay, the newbies, because all three newcomers, the two
Yeah.
that are faithful, are going to assume that one of the three are also a traitor. Like, they're going to
Right.
just think it's the natural progression. Like we
Mhm.
said, episode 1, I would have immediately been like, oh, Boston Rob's back. He's definitely a traitor because we fucked him over before he got to
You
play
would
the
think.
game. But you would think that the other two newbies would keep that in their mind. And then if Wes is approached by Boston Rob out of the gate, like, hey, man, they're pointing the finger at us. DQ Bob's pointing the finger at us. We got to get him the fuck out of here. Now Wes is going to question whether or not a traitor would have known about it. He's going to start to think about Boston Rob, potentially.
Yeah.
So
You would think that.
that would be interesting to watch, to see if that anything comes of that. But Nikki defends herself. Then Derek, he speaks up and he's like, Nikki pled for her life. Jeremy sold his soul, and Ciara used profanity. That's tough detective work, sir. Nice job, officer.
I
Like,
see a
what the
lot of people.
fuck?
Anytime that they're trying to plead not guilty, they're always screaming profanities.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, probably. But also,
Maybe,
like,
yeah.
this just doesn't seem like astute detective work to me. It feels
No.
shoddy at best. But Boston Rob jumps in and says, this is all distractions, everybody. You're all being distracted. Because if you look around the room, there's been one person spearheading and quarterbacking this entire thing. And if you really think about it, who's that one voice been this entire time? Bob the Drage Queen. And everyone, like, the room shakes. It's like, because the people that heard were voting for DQ Bob. This is they're radicalized now.
Yep.
He's gotten them. They're like, fuck, we are doing this. All right, everyone be cool. It's coming true. Let's all just stay calm.
It's such a crazy gamble too. And look, I don't think that he wanted to do it himself, obviously, because it puts such a huge target on his back. It skews the traitors. They're all going to go after him and get him out. If he's going after one of our own, we need to get him out. We can't do this. But Dylan doesn't speak up. That's the problem. He was expecting Dylan to just double down. Now I've got the support. But Dylan's probably thinking this could be a trap. Who knows? Maybe Boston Rob's got me.
Would Dylan have been able to sell it too? That's the thing.
Yeah.
He is,
without Boston Rob's input, probably not.
That's what I'm saying. He's admittedly not that guy.
Yep.
So he got somebody that is that guy to do his dirty work for him. But what he doesn't know is he's getting double dirtied.
Yep.
He's doing your dirty work, but you're the dirty work that B Rob is doing, because he doesn't want the target on his back. So look out, Dylan.
Right.
But DQ Bob is shook. He's rattled. He's like, holy shit. Who? Me? From you? What the fuck? And I wonder if in that moment he went back to the top of the hill and was like, fuck, I shouldn't have said that. Or if he was just so rattled, he's like, wait a minute. Why are you coming at me? We're traitors. This is crazy. He said, I got 9 words. And I don't know what those 9 words. I am a faithful and something else. I did count.
No,
it was 9.
It was like, I'll tell you a joke, but not a lie.
Oh, yeah. I'll never lie. I am a faithful. I don't know. Nope. It was 9 words to say I'm not a faithful. Yeah, I know I did syllables. It's all good. Boston Rob's like, well, I got 2 words. You're not. And everybody starts to get involved in this whole thing. Obviously, DQ Bob gets a little activated. He's trying to defend himself. He's like, you're scared of me. And you know what? There's probably some validity to that. He probably is a little bit nervous about you because you're playing the game well. You do have a lot of support amidst the group. Like you said, individually, you don't have your clique, and that's something that's different than the rest of the players. They have their faithful clique, but they also have the traitors clique. He doesn't have that. So he defends it really hard. He's like, you will never be me. And Dylan jumps in and says, well, I grew up around an actor, and poor Zac Efron catches a stray. Not a good one. Leave him alone.
Yeah, leave him alone.
Yeah, High School Musical fucking slaps to this day. Neighbors, great. It was phenomenal. It was a great movie. I like a lot of Efron movies. So you know
Yeah.
what? Leave that poor guy alone. He broke his jaw, and then everyone thought he got crazy plastic surgery because his jaw
Dolores,
muscles
and,
got so
it
crazy.
definitely secured Dolores's vote too, because Dolores was like, "All right, that was mean.
She goes,
You leave
"That's not
Zach
nice."
alone."
That's not nice.
That's not nice. I'm voting
Yeah.
for you now. I don't
I
like
watched
that.
what's the movie with Matthew Perry, rest in peace, where Zac Efron plays a young version of
13
him.
going on 30. No, yeah,
No,
is 13
that's
going on 30?
no, that's with
Jennifer Garner.
Jennifer Garner. That movie's great. 30,
Yeah.
Flirty, and Thriving. 30, Flirty, and Thriving.
What was the one?
That made me try Razzles because they would always eat the Razzles. That was the thing.
Yeah,
It was
I know what it
fuck,
was. Didn't
something
they both
again?
go back in time? Yeah,
No. He goes to a bridge and falls off into a portal and turns back into his younger self, but he's old still.
right.
And then goes back to high school to live the life that he wanted to live because when he was a basketball star in high school, he got the head cheerleader pregnant and they had the kid. And then he thought his whole life sucked. But then he looks back after living this different life and he's like, no, man, my life was pretty cool, which is also the same plot of 90% of movies from that era. And I'll watch all of them over and over again. Are you looking it up?
Correct. I'm looking it up. Well, now it's 17 again.
17 again. I knew it was something again.
No,
Yeah, great.
It's just all. This is a little tiny bit morbid, but it took me forever to actually get to the movie when I Googled Matthew Perry, Zac Efron. There are a ton of articles about Zac Efron potentially playing Matthew Perry in a biopic.
Well,
And
I'll watch it.
Does Matthew Perry want Zac Efron to play him in a biopic? And I'm like, well, do we
I
know?
don't know. But the chatter ends when DQ Bob says, when the big dog sat down, the little bitch stood up. I was like, that's great trash talk. I think you're going to
Incredible
lose
trash
this one, but that's a fucking great line. And I think B-Rob seals it with this one. If he's not, you can vote me out next. I'm like, fuck, no one else is going to go away from DQ Bob. Now we
Mhm.
get to the vote, and Bob secures it with 11. The other front runners were Ciara with 4, Nikki had 2, which is just such a shot in the dark, and then obviously Boston Rob had 1 from DQ Bob.
Yep.
So,
And he
Bob the
also
Drag Queen.
secured all the traitors. The big thing was
Yeah, that was
Danielle, who
huge.
we thought was just gonna. I really thought that Danielle was just gonna continue to go after Ciara and
I
just
did
stick to
too.
her game plan, but she was swayed. And the confessionals are a little misleading because she's talking about it like, no, we had a plan. I can't go after him. I don't want to do this. And then afterwards, she's like, I could just see his face. And then she
folds.
starts crying too. It's like, all right, like it's a game. Everybody relax. But
That's again the psychology of these shows, dude.
just let it
There needs
happen.
to be a podcast about that. That would be interesting. Like how your
Probably
brain
is.
shifts. Like
It
when
should
you're
be
in The
us doing
Bachelor.
that.
I don't. With
We're
what time?
psychologists.
With what? Yeah, put on our psychology hat is different than having a degree in psychology. I'm just saying it's like in The Bachelor
Is
and
it?
Bachelorette when people are like, "Oh my god, I'm in love with this person after a week," and I do think in the
Yeah.
moment they are, and then they leave and they're like, "Oh no, I'm not.
No,
of
I'm
course
not.
I'm not.
Oh,
I
boy.
don't know anything about this person. It would be insane for me to get married after 30 days. But hey, will you marry me so I can have the prize money? High five. I don't know, but regardless, Bob gets whacked. R.I.P. Bob the Drag Queen, arguably the best, most entertaining contestant from this season.
For
so
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
sad to lose him this early on, but even he confirms, he's like, look, it's good gameplay. This was solid gameplay from Boston Rob, especially if he felt threatened by me, which I'm sure he did a little bit. And he's like, that's just gameplay, baby. So
I love it.
I do too.
I
You know,
like that's the right attitude to have too. It's
Humble
just
in
so
defeat.
cool. Like
humble in
Tony
defeat.
was so pissed off. He's like, Rob, you're a fucking sellout. It's like, all right, dude, relax.
buddy.
But now that I'm thinking about it, Rob stuck his neck out last week too to get Tony out. Tony was a faithful. Now he sticks his neck out and he gets, you spill a little bit of traitor blood. It's going to keep people happy and create a little bit of chaos and just happiness. And they're not going to think. But you did it twice in a row now. Now you've become what you just pointed at Bob the Drag Queen.
But
You
I
just
think
said he's the most boisterous. He's telling you guys what to do. Look at him. He's a traitor. That's what you're now doing. You just stepped right
Yeah.
into Bob's role.
Yeah, but the difference is the fanfare after he does this and Bob says, I am a traitor. He won the
Iconic,
favor
though.
of most of the room.
Yeah.
I would say everybody in the room is like, fuck yeah, Boston Rob, this is why you're a legend. This is why we trust you, because you're so good at these fucking games. How on earth did you know that? That would be my first thought. I'm like, guys, let's vote for him.
Yeah, why
next.
you weren't on him until now? Like you didn't support Dylan last week. Now you're supporting him this week.
Oh, Dylan
very
has
strongly.
such a man crush on him now.
Oh,
He's like,
dude,
I
yeah.
fucking love Boston Rob because he.
It should be Dylan
validated
getting
me.
the fanfare, by the way. He pointed him out last week and nobody believed him.
Yeah,
Nobody's going over to Dylan and saying, you were right, buddy. Nope.
But maybe that's better. Maybe he doesn't want the credit. You want Boston Rob to get the credit because now they're looking at him. They're not looking at Dylan. Dylan is still skating by, and he was the first one to peg somebody. But at the same time, when he goes off with Boston Rob, because now Boston Rob's like, ooh, you're in my fucking pocket now, bud, and you have no idea. I'm going to take you all the way to the end. You're going to trust me implicitly, and then I'm going to slit your goddamn throat, and it's going to be glorious because I don't fucking care about you, pal. And Dylan is so excited to trust somebody that he's all in on Boston Rob. He's like, all right, bro, here's who's next. I know, I think I have an idea who's next. And he names
it's like Gabby and
he said Gabby and Bob H. Gabby and Bob H are the next two. And I was like, I don't see either, honestly.
And also Boston Rob's not going to follow your lead on this one now.
No, he's going to tell you. He's going to say, oh, good call. But you know what? We're going to wait till tomorrow because we don't want to blow up a spot.
While they're talking, and there's a couple of things going on here, and we can put the two scenes together. Sure. While the two of them are talking with Dylan and Boston Rob walking out, Dylan's got his hit list. Boston Rob's listening to him because he's got him in his pocket. Gabby comes out right at that time. It's like, oh, shit, stop talking. Hey, Gab, how are you? What's going on? Hey, guys, great job. Love this. I think, ... What she's say is, I think Danielle, because that's what she's thinking. She's going to the people that just got a traitor out. And it's like, all right, let me go to the people. Yeah. And now we've got so many things going on where we're going to have at the end of the episode, obviously the traitors are all talking. We don't see what they talk about right away. We'll see that next week. But you got to think that Danielle is going to try to recruit Carolyn to get Boston Rob out. Like, no, we can't have this already, but that's going to put you at a disadvantage. So now you've got Boston Rob talking to Gabby, who thinks that Danielle's a traitor. That's going to put a little bit of a little balance into play. At the same time, Wes is sitting there. How would you know if somebody was 100% a traitor? How would you be that adamant out of nowhere that somebody's a traitor? Took Tom about 15 minutes, but Tom got there eventually.
Because Tom started the conversation off with, like, he's all in. I'll do anything Boston Rob says. Like, clearly you're not paying attention then because everyone's scared of this guy. And you're like, oh, man, he proved in that room he's not. And then Wes is like, how would he know that? They're like, oh, right. Yeah, no, you're right too, though. But maybe you're both right. Maybe you're both right.
Can you tell me? Can you tell me how you're right? I need a reminder.
Can you draw it in a picture book so I can understand? Because I don't get it. But yeah, I think what's going to be interesting because we get to the turret and they're discussing things and we're not going to be privy to that. I hate waiting for this show. I fucking hate it. I'm glad they're doing it week to week for our sake so we can recap it like accordingly. But I do get frustrated because it's just so goddamn good. But what I would like to happen, my gameplay, if I'm Boston Rob, all right, I am moving quietly and drumming up more about Danielle, but he cannot be the one to bring it up at the round. He can't be the one to point the finger at her because if he does, now they're like, all right, dude, this guy is always on the nose, like something's fishy here. But what it gives him the opportunity to do is take out two traitors and he'll have a stranglehold on the traitors and then recruit Dylan into the traitors. And now you've got a squad. You know what I mean? Because I think Carolyn, the easy way to play that is now if you get Danielle out, it's like, all right, Carolyn, Bob and
why
Danielle,
you don't want Danielle out? You don't want another traitor because then there's only two, and you can recruit. You're allowed to recruit.
I'm saying what I would do. I think that's a move. I think that's interesting.
It's interesting, but it doesn't behoove you to get rid of another traitor. You just lost one, then you're down by two. No, you don't want to do it because
you can recruit more,
you can only recruit one. You can only recruit one more.
Okay, so then you get back up to 3, and I think that's plenty. And then what it does, because that's fine. I'm giving you my fucking game plan. Then you can give me your
game plan's stupid.
Yeah, we'll see, dickhead. Because my whole thought process is now that the traitors are up for grabs, Boston Rob has a chance to take control of the traitors because if you get Danielle out, you can go to Carolyn and be like, hey, Bob the Drage Queen, Danielle, they were keeping you down. They weren't letting you speak. I'm going to let you run this show. You just make her seem like she is at the head of it and let her make some decisions. Bring in Dylan, who is in Boston Rob's pocket already. That's how you get a unified front, which is what Boston Rob wanted from the jump. So I agree with you that it's still early, and to be whacking traitors this early is a dangerous game. But
Yeah.
I also think that it's a risk that may have some payoffs because you get Carolyn on your team with Boston Rob, who's already a little befuddled, and then you can recruit somebody that you know you can trust. So that's a unified front. And if that is Boston Rob's goal, that gives you that unified front. I do understand the risks involved. I get that. I understand where you're coming from.
I think it was too soon to get rid of a traitor, but it happened. It was awesome to watch. I don't think you can just go back to back right away. It's just way too soon to do two. That would be insane. Even if it's Danielle and Carolyn trying to talk about it, they'll talk about it, but you can't do it the next day. You have to wait a day or two to go after Boston Rob.
I would agree that there's a time frame, yes, but
Yeah.
I do think that Boston Rob should set up Danielle.
You got to get rid of a couple more faithfuls before you do that,
Yeah.
because it is inevitable that you are going to get rid of another traitor soon.
Well, they're going to get rid of a faithful tonight.
You have to sandwich it with it. Yeah, you get rid of a faithful tonight, but you're going to have to sandwich it with a couple more faithfuls just to make
you kill a faithful overnight, you kill a faithful at the round table, another faithful,
and then another
overnight,
faithful,
and
then you can go after
then you have the
round
chance
table.
for another traitor. Yeah, I could see that too.
think
I'm
that makes
curious. I'm very, very curious as to what the move's going to be, because every time I think I got to go and I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh nope, someone did something different and that worked. Or oh, someone did something different and that was a terrible idea, because now you're dead, Bob the Drage Queen. And again, RIP, because what a tremendous
Just
player.
a fantastic episode too.
Yeah, it was so fucking good. This show rocks.
All right. First question up here from s03ep04. Did Bob do enough on his way out to point fingers at Rob? That is something you can't do. You are definitely not allowed to do that. But there are some things in there, obviously, that he said while he was defending himself, pointing fingers back at Rob. Obviously, he's just trying to protect himself at all costs. But on his way out in the circle, no. I think it was a great moment. He said that he doesn't even believe in God. It's great. And then he walked out. So I think that inevitably Boston Rob is the one who's pointing fingers at himself.
I agree with that. Yeah. But he's so calculated that I would imagine the things that he's doing, he has intent behind it. And that normally I would be 100% on your side of things, where it's like, ooh, bad move. But I'm like, he's done this for too long for me to not assume he has a plan.
Yeah.
Let's see. From Chris 10 Reese, Zac Efron catching strays. Yep. That we agree. Are we buying Danielle's act? I can't tell when she's acting emotional or being real. And I think that you could argue where I seem to think that she's doing too much sometimes. If you're consistent with doing too much, then it becomes your MO. So for whatever reason, she keeps eluding people, except for a couple people that have been stuck on her for a while. And she got rid of like the biggest one, which was Jeremy. So I don't know. I think that you would just argue that's her gameplay, and you could argue that it's working.
From Jamie Gibbs, if you were a traitor, who would you least trust out of your fellow traitors? I guess Bob the Drage Queen's out, so probably least trust Boston Rob for sure. Yeah, after that move.
Especially after that whole thing. Like that does, definitely Boston Rob. Yeah, here's another good one from Jade Brianna. Bob DQ clearly did not watch Iron Claw. That's a great fucking movie. That movie's fantastic.
Great point.
So if you think Efron is a bad actor, go watch Iron Claw and tell me how many times you cry, especially when you realize it's a true story and it's sad as fuck. That's one of those that even at the end when it's happy, you're like, yeah, yay, but fuck, that was a grind.
Two-parter here from our friend Outdoor Los. Carolyn is so underestimated. She made it to the Survivor finale. Could she win it all? And also, never mind about my comments about rooting for Robin Les. Thank you for taking that back, Los. But yeah,
we always appreciate when you take accountability.
I think Carolyn's in a very good position. Yes, she's frustrated because they're not listening to her, but I don't think anybody suspects that she is. There are a lot of finger pointings going around there, and she is not catching any strays right now. So I think she is very much under the radar. She's doing a great job, and I think I could see her winning it all.
I agree. I think that she is underestimated. I've said that since the first turret conversation when she got kind of pushed down to the bottom. I'm like, oh, I don't think you guys are playing this right. I think you should get her more involved. From Abel Amore, 24. Do you think B-Rob shot himself in the foot going so hard for DQ Bob right before the round table?
Yeah.
I think, yes, you could definitely argue that that's where, again, I say he must have some kind of contingency plan if he's this good at these games, because yes, that does draw attention. And I think that he knows that draws attention. Can you hear the vacuum?
No.
Okay, good. And I think he knows that that draws attention to him. So that's going to be the first thing I'm looking at next week. How are people looking at Boston Rob? What are they saying about Boston Rob?
We'll do one more here from Nick Sims, sorry. Who should the Traitors recruit next if they can?
I think Dylan. He's so nice.
No. If you're Bob, if you're Rob rather, you've got him in your pocket already. Don't worry about that. You can burn him when you need to. I would not.
You also have him as a traitor that you can just direct. Like he's going to listen to whatever Boston Rob says.
He's already going to do that, traitor or not.
Yeah,
I don't think it's worth it. Maybe look a West.
He's also a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, he's a good sacrificial lamb. West would be a good one, especially if Rob hears that Wes is using his name. Sure. I think you take somebody completely unsuspecting, or you take like Nikki or Ciara, unless you're going to lean into just getting rid of both of them eventually. But you're going to get rid of one of them, so you could do that. There's just so many options here. Like Bob H would be a good one. I would love to see that.
Nikki or Ciara again, like that's too obvious. I think that's too fucking obvious, especially once they.
There is no right answer to any of this.
No, there's not at all. I think that if you recruit, if it's not Dylan, mine would probably be. Oh, Gabby. Take one of the Bambis. Get them on your team so that they can infiltrate that group. I think
Gabby's a good one.
Yeah, or Dolo, because no one expects her.
True.
But I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It's going to be fun to watch it all shake out. It's just so goddamn frustrating waiting to see this show every week because it's so good. It's so good.
But it gives us something to look forward to.
Yeah, I love this show. I'm so glad we're recapping it. Hopefully, the next season comes out soon when this one ends, because I'm going to go back and watch 1 and 2 because I need more Traitors in my life. But
me too.
The last thing I'll say before we sign off here is Alan Cummings. His fucking wardrobe is just impeccable.
It's so good.
Every time I see him, I'm like, God damn it, you look fantastic. When he's on the Easter Island challenge, and he's got the
let's also point out the dog too. What's the dog's name? Lala.
She's dressed wonderfully. Like it's
perfect.
I want his. I could not pull it off. I would try. I don't think I could pull it off.
You could try. Yeah.
But he look every time he walks in, he looks great. I will also shout out DQ Bob with his final outfit. It looked phenomenal as well.
Oh yeah.
Nice job, everybody. I mean, the outfits, other than Tom, I cannot stand beanies indoors unless it's like freezing outside. It's like
that's the other thing is people are getting so upset. There's two things people are getting upset online about. One, they're mad that Wes and Boston Rob are on the game. And I saw one tweet I laughed
at.
Are?
Why?
Yeah, I guess that they've been circling around all of these types of shows. They were on like House of Villains, which I don't watch. I find that like as the B team of Traitors. Like I don't really care about them.
Of Traitors.
And then the other thing I saw was Boston Rob was on Deal or the tweet.
He's on Deal or No Deal Island. He's like the host.
Yeah. They were like, first he pops up on House of Villains, then he's on Deal or No Deal Island. Now he's on Traitors. I'm like, well, that's your fault for watching Deal or No Deal Island.
And also, like, oh, fuck this guy for making money. Like, that always makes me laugh when people.
I was surprised to see that people were that mad about it. They're like, oh, we got to get these people off. I'm like, all right, like if that's how you want to feel, it's fine. But I think they're playing the game really well.
I'll never understand that. That's like when people get upset at athletes for taking massive contracts to leave their city. It's like, would you turn down $200 million? Probably not. So let's be reasonable here. The guy's just making money. That's stupid. But whatever. Awesome show.
Great show.
But that's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope.
Well, that's our show. Bros gotta go. Bros